13 little moments that mean the world to your cat. Your cat may not write poems or sing your name, but the truth is, they're quietly collecting moments. Moments that, to them, feel like love songs with no lyrics. Most of us miss them, but once you notice them, you'll never see your cat the same way again. Let's talk about 13 little moments that mean everything to your cat, even if they'd never admit it. 1. You paused what you were doing when they looked your way. You're mid-scroll, halfway through an email, stirring the pasta, and they glance at you. Not with a meow or a nudge, just a stillness. Their eyes catch yours. You pause, just for a second. And that second, it tells them everything. In that pause, your cat hears, "You matter more than the noise of this moment." They don't need a treat or a feather toy. Just knowing that their quiet gaze can shift your entire attention, even briefly, makes them feel significant in your world. You didn't have to stop what you were doing, but you did. And to them, that's monumental. 2. You didn't laugh when they tried to look brave. Your cat knocked something off the counter, and instead of the usual smugness, they suddenly spooked themselves. That wide-eyed puffed tail freeze frame. They're embarrassed, vulnerable. And what did you do? You didn't laugh. You didn't film it. You gently averted your gaze, gave them space to reclaim their dignity. That little choice, that tiny act of respect, tells them, "I see your pride, and I won't bruise it." It's a silent understanding, and it earns you a thread of trust that sticks. 3. You whispered instead of called. Most people think louder means clearer, but not with cats. When you wanted them to come over, maybe off the windowsill, maybe just closer for a cuddle, you didn't yell. You didn't clap your hands. You whispered their name, software intentional, like a secret between the two of you. To your cat, that softness is safety. It tells them your attention isn't a command. It's an invitation. In a world where they're so often overcorrected or spoken at, your gentleness cuts through like a warm breeze. 4. You didn't chase them when they ran. They bolted under the bed. Most people would reach, call, bribe. You didn't. You waited. Not with frustration, with patience. And when they slowly came back out, it wasn't because you tricked them. It was because they felt safe. You didn't chase. You didn't corner. You let them lead. And in cat language, that restraint says, "I trust you to come back to me." 5. You touched them differently when they were sick. They weren't eating right, or they had that faraway look in their eyes. Maybe they were recovering from surgery. You knew they needed rest, not energy. So you didn't scoop them up like usual. You didn't bury your face in their fur like you normally do. Instead, you softened your presence. You used the backs of your fingers. You sat near them, not on them. You honored their discomfort, and they noticed. Because what you offered wasn't affection for your sake. It was comfort for theirs. That distinction? That's special. 6. You let them interrupt your sadness. You were crying, or maybe just quiet. Something about you was off, and your cat felt it. They jumped onto the bed, or they stared from across the room. Maybe they brushed against your leg in that slow, heavy way they do when they're feeling your feelings. And instead of shooing them away, you let them stay. Maybe you even whispered, "Hey," and blinked slowly through your tears. They don't understand what bills are, or grief, or heartbreak, but they understand your energy. And in that moment, you told them, "I still have room for you, even when I'm breaking." You let their presence matter, and that's a gift not every cat gets. 7. You remembered their favorite hiding spot and left it alone. Under the closet shelf, behind the laundry basket, that strange little nook in the bookshelf. They retreat there when they're overwhelmed. And you know this. You didn't light it up with your flashlight. You didn't poke your head in and say, "Found you." You simply walked by and pretended not to notice. That moment of privacy, unbroken, to your cat, that's a sacred offering. You respected the boundary they never verbalized. And that kind of attunement is something even many people never experience. 8. You didn't replace their favorite worn-out toy. It's missing half its stuffing. The feather's long gone. It looks like something from a horror movie. But it's the one. And even when a newer, shinier toy showed up, one that squeaked, glowed, and danced, they still went back to the ragged old thing. And you let them. You didn't throw it away. You didn't shame them for their strange attachment. You understood something subtle. It's not the toy. It's the memory attached to it. You let them keep that memory, even when it didn't match your aesthetic. 9. You stayed awake while they fell asleep on you. It was late. Your legs were numb. You were trapped on the couch because a warm little weight curled up on your chest. Their breathing slowed. Their paws twitched in dreamland. You could have moved them, but you didn't. You stayed, and they knew it. You let your discomfort melt in service of their peace. You exchanged sleep for their safety. That kind of sacrifice doesn't go unnoticed, not even by a creature as mysterious as a cat. To them, that moment says, "I'm safe enough to surrender around you." and surrender is the ultimate trust. 10. You waited for them to come to you, and meant it. There's a difference between letting a cat come to you and waiting while subtly patting the couch, making kissy sounds, or shaking a treat bag. You didn't do any of that. You just waited, with presence, with patience. You gave them space without expectation. And when they did climb onto your lap or gently leaned into your side, they did it with choice, not pressure. That moment of earned closeness, that's love in their language. To a cat, it means, you don't just want me, you respect me enough to let me choose. That's the deepest form of trust, and not every cat gets to feel it. 11. You mirrored their stillness, even when it felt like nothing was happening. You sat beside them as they stared out the window, not scrolling, not talking, not trying to make the moment more productive. You joined their stillness, just two beings, sharing time. That might seem like nothing to the outside world, but to your cat, that's intimacy, that's peace, that's rare. Because most people rush, fill every second, but you chose to match their rhythm. And in doing so, you told them, you don't need to entertain me to earn my company. That message lives deep in their bones. 12. You apologized, even though they couldn't understand the words. You accidentally stepped on their tail, or closed a door a little too fast. Maybe you startled them without meaning to, and instinctively you said, I'm sorry. Not in a loud, dramatic way, but in that quiet voice you reserved just for them, the one that lives somewhere between guilt and tenderness. You knelt down, waited, let them sniff your fingers. You didn't expect instant forgiveness, you just offered it. And though they didn't understand the word itself, they felt everything beneath it. Your softness, your regret, your care. To your cat, that apology was a form of healing. It said, even when I mess up, I see you. I care that you were hurt, even a little. That's more powerful than any treat or toy. 13. You remembered them when no one else did. During holidays, during hectic weeks, during those moments when the world seemed too loud, you didn't forget about them. Maybe everyone else was distracted. Maybe there were guests or noise or parties or chaos. But you always circled back. You locked eyes from across the room. You sat on the floor with them, even in dress shoes. You whispered a quiet hi, even as the music blared. You reminded them, you're not an afterthought. You didn't let their silence make them invisible. And that's the kind of love that writes itself into a cat's memory. Not in words, but in feelings that stay stitched into their body long after. Your cat's world is made up of moments, not grand gestures. Not the viral videos or the expensive toys or the perfect Instagram captions. It's the stillness, the softness, the space you give them to be themselves. That's what makes you unforgettable in their eyes. Because you don't just care, you understand. And for a creature that hides most of what they feel, that understanding, that's everything. And there you have it. Those are the moments that mean the world to your cat. Curious for more insights? Discover the signs they think of you as their soulmate, or learn how they show love. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe for more.